All right, so this is the segment that really astounds people. When you compare food and wine, it really throws it up to the next level. So when I was growing up, I didn't have any ability to pair food and wine. I was the age-old person, white wine with fish, red wine with meat, and that is now debunked, okay? John here is going to show us, and John is an author, has written a book on the essentials of wine with food and wine pairing, and you can see that book, but he knows all this stuff, and we're going to learn a little bit about why that myth is old, and we've got 2 dishes from Dysfunctions Catering here in Chicago that has helped out with this whole segment.
Yeah. Through years of experimentation and study and practice, I really put together this process of pairing wine with food in a very successful approach. By far the most important principle when, whether you're a sommelier, enthusiast, or the consumer at large, is to make sure that the wine and food mirror one another. The body, the weight, the intensity need to be at an equilibrium between the two. For example, if you were to take a light-bodied white wine, such as a Sauvignon Blanc, and pair that with a big, hearty piece of red meat, wine's going to taste like water. Wouldn't work, wouldn't be successful. Granted, you may like Sauv Blanc, you may like the steak, and you may find that a fine sort of pairing, but technically speaking, it's going to overpower one. You can turn that around as well. We could say, hey, let me take a big, bold red Zinfandel and pair that with some shrimp cocktail. Problem with that, you're going to lose the food. So bottom line, bottom principle, you've got to mirror one another.
Okay, so we have Pinot Noir. So tell me what typically pairs well with Pinot Noir. They both, Debbie and Curtis, agreed it was a lighter style wine, not as big and full-bodied as the Cabernet. So it's a lighter styled wine, so what dishes typically pair well with Pinot?
Yeah, you know, the thing about Pinot, I'm glad we have a Pinot here today because it totally it debunks that whole angle of what you were talking about.
You're such a Pinot fan, too.
Pinot, Mr. Cab. So red wine with fish can work. So we're talking about a Pinot Noir that can typically go with fatty fish, tuna, shark, salmon. We can also go with coagulated proteins like a beef stew, pot roast. Also, we could do duck. It has a lot of flexibility and adaptability. So what we paired with the Pinot Noir today, the chefs from Dysfunction came up with a salmon, and we wrapped it in a cherry hickory smoke piece of wood that you could wrap this up, throw it directly on the grill, and it smokes it while it's cooking it. We have some thyme, we have some lemon, we have some green onions.
And folks, this is real easy. You can get this at about 10 different stores. You don't have to be a chef to be doing any of this. Super easy.
This is a simple dish, and yet it's going to be delicious. And the idea here is that there's enough fat in the salmon that's going to be able to mirror the weight and body associated with this light-bodied red wine. Please give it a try as we talk about.
So tell me why the salmon actually works with the Pinot.
Salmon with the Pinot, we've got a lot of fat in the salmon. It's a fatty fish. There's a certain sort of wild flavor to the salmon, coupled with the fact that we're smoking and grilling it. So there's this intensity that's going to be able to have this equilibrium, this mirroring effect.
And right now it's what I refer to as the summer drinking season, which is grilling season in Chicago. So let's take the heat out of the kitchen and take it outside. Absolutely. And when you pair it, I like that noise. For those of you that didn't hear that, she sighed.
Moment of ecstasy. And by the way, I might say that was a Pinot that she was doing that with.
Oh, yes. Whatever.
Our second dish, if I can have you all give a sample with the, we have a ribeye over here.
Well, tell me what types of foods typically go with Cabernet, because as we talked earlier, Cabernet is a much bigger, fuller-bodied wine, so it's got more power, more substance. Tell me what goes with this.
Well, this is a classic pairing here with a Cabernet. Cabernet is a big, bold wine, lots of power, lots of tannin, ample alcohol. We need something big. We need big old hunk of Fred Flintstone meat. As big as we can get. We need ribeye, we need porterhouse, we need T-bone. You could do rich, pungent blue cheese, dark chocolate. So what we have here is our ribeye, coupled with a salad of blue cheese. And what we've done is we've grilled that ribeye. Once again, keep the heat out of the kitchen. It's outdoor, it's summer season. You can drink red wines with summer foods.
Yes.
And the coupling of the blue cheese and the steak and the intense cooking method is going to go amazing together.
Excellent. So take a bite of the steak with the ribeye, typically fatty, and the tannins associated in the Cabernet, which comes from the grape skin, actually cut through that tannin. So Debbie, Curtis, can we have a little feedback on the steak? Go ahead, you can chew.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Incredible.
So can you see, if you were to take the Pinot Noir and pair it with a steak, it wouldn't be horrible, but what you got is a better match with the Cabernet and the steak. Something with a little bit more weight, mirroring the equivalent weight in the food dish.
Amazing.
Excellent. So everybody good on the concept of body of food to body of wine? Okay, excellent. Any favorites?
I'm a salmon person. I love the fish, and that Pinot is just amazing.
Excellent.
I'll be buying some.
Cross-reference, I do the salmon with the Cabernet.
You do
Oh.
the salmon with the Cabernet?
Salmon with the
And
Cabernet.
it's
He's a
okay.
Cabernet boy.
And you know, the thing we always talk about, of course, it's obvious. You can drink and eat anything
Yes.
you like. But in terms of what we want to share with you is sort of maybe a different approach of mirroring that weight that's going to, for more people, maybe be more effective. But absolutely.
And if you have anybody out there have any suggestions on food and wine pairings for steaks, you can go to #PoundTodayTVLive and let us know what your thoughts are on the appropriate food and wine pairings. But I think it's important to recognize, and I'm going to throw some questions at John, fire action here. Body is important, so you have a big spicy dish. As a matter of fact, why don't we do that, since it is grilling season, and the most popular thing we always grill are burgers. Give me an idea of what wines go with burgers.
You know, it all depends on how you cook that
Cheeseburgers.
burger, and that's another question. How are we cooking the burger? Are we doing it rare, medium rare, or are we doing it well done? What kind of cheese are we putting on? Are we putting on something light? Are we putting on something more aged and intense? Are we throwing on caramelized onions?
Curtis
Are we
hasn't
doing
eaten in
some
like 3
bacon?
days. He's just chowing down
So,
over here.
depending upon what we're doing with that burger, but we're talking Malbec, we're talking Zinfandel, we're talking Merlot.
Okay, so we have fatty fish here. What about lighter style of fishes? Turbo, halibut.
Tilapia, all those
Tilapia.
leaner fishes, they've got much less body, much less internal fat. So now we're dealing with something like Sauvignon Blanc, we're dealing with Pinot Gris, Pinot Grigio, perhaps a sparkling wine. But you notice that these lighter wines, because there's a lighter body of that main center of the plate item.
Anybody Asian food, spice lovers? Yeah. Okay, so how can you find something to counteract that heat?
Yeah, well, bottom line, we've got to mirror the body again, but that we can find a wine that has just a little bit of residual sugar. Some Chenin Blancs can give you a little bit of residual sugar, as an example. Some Rieslings can give you a little bit of residual sugar. As long as they've got the body to compete with the dish, we're looking at a little bit of that sweetness to counteract some of the spice.
Okay, so you saw, and John has a couple books, excuse me. So, Beverage Manager's Guide, but really the book that sets it apart is The Essentials of Wine with Food Pairing Techniques. Very simple, very easy, and one of the things that's very simple about this is you don't have to be a culinary chef. John teaches culinary school, or cooking as a matter of fact, is Cordon Bleu educated, sommelier of the year. So what I want to do is focus on the simplicity of this, because don't make it complicated. Wine is very, very simple. Let's not bog it all down with complication. All right, so what we're going to do is when we come back out of the break, giving in action, what your purchases do for the community at large. Thanks so much.